Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we're going to talk about the great man theory, and we're going to talk about identifying great man individuals, and we're going to talk about who can be great man individuals. All right, so what is the great man theory? The great man theory came out in 1840 and was brought forward by a gentleman by the name of Thomas Carlyle, and it's horribly named, so let's get that out of the way. It's horribly named because in 1840 we're like, well, everybody's going to be great. It's going to be a dude. Women don't do nothing because they were incredibly prejudiced and regressive. And they didn't really understand that women can be ballers too. So it was bad, right? But the problem is I'm not going to rename his theory because great man theory is a pretty powerful theory. It definitely needs to be considered. And if I call it anything else, nobody knows what I'm talking about. But if I say great man theory, anybody who has a degree or two knows what I'm talking about. So what is the great man theory? Okay, so it is that great leaders, are not made, they are born, right? And they're born with three things. They're born with charisma, confidence, and intelligence. You're like, wait a second, Scott, isn't that what you say every great dungeon master has? Yes, yeah, that's exactly right. So it is my supposition, and I've posited this for no less than probably 5, 6, 7, 8 years, that every dungeon master has to have confidence, charisma, and intelligence, right? And if you lack even a single one of those, you will fail as a dungeon master, right? And so that's the ramifications that are big, right? So what I want to talk about today is the great man individual, all right? So we know Thomas Carlyle was wrong to call the theory the great man theory, right? Because women can be great leaders, right? We know that, right? And, well, yeah, we do know that. And the reason why is because they've led other nations and they've led corporations successfully, right? The reality is they've never led America successfully. There's never been a one-man president, and this is a problem, right? In that, President of America is king of the world. There ain't no way around that, right? And so we are still having this conversation in America that technically we all believe that women can be great leaders, but functionally we ain't never proved it, and that's a problem. That is a problem, right? So, but at this point, each presidential election, there's never going to be another election where another woman isn't saying, hey, do I get to be the first great leader of the world, right? And so we're having that conversation. I think that's a good thing. So I want to talk about the great man individual, right? So the great man individual is not a man. And the reason why is I want to have a robust conversation about this great man theory. I'm going to do a few videos on this, and so I want to get this out of the way. I want to set it in cement what I mean when I say a great man individual, okay? So a great man individual can be a great man who was born as a great leader and has charisma, confidence, and intelligence, right? CCI, right? Then, okay, a woman can absolutely be a great man individual, right? Perfect example of this is Kelsey Dion over on the OSR. She recently took the kingship of the OSR. She's the king of the OSR, and the reason why is she has defeated every single OSR designer in the world with Shadow Dark. There's more. By the way, I have a Shadow Dark playlist. Okay, and that it has over 25 individual OSR proponents or creators themselves who all up Shadow Dark, and I have it listed in value order, right? So the first person on there is the best OSR commentator and or creator, and the last person on that, all the way down on number 25, like around 25, number 1 in the order is the best, and number 26 is bad. You're getting to the dregs of the OSR, right? And every single one of those people have talked about the OSR, and so Kelsey Dion is a great man individual, right? She's a great leader in the OSR, and she's actually the king of the OSR now, right? So that's exciting, right? So the other thing is, so I'm a dungeon master, right? What does that mean that I'm a dungeon master? Well, it means I listen for the voice of Gary Gygax. I listen for every single thing he said when he was alive, and I listen to everything he's saying now that he's dead. Wait, what do you mean? Yeah, Gary Gygax speaks from the grave with his legacy, right? What's his legacy? Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition Strixhaven. What's his legacy? Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition Keys from the Golden Vault. Every single one of these books was written with him specifically in mind, right? It's specifically built to honor him and make sure that Gary Gygax's Dungeons & Dragons never dies, right? So this is really interesting. So we get to this point where, and so if you listen to Gary, if you listen to when he was alive, and if you listen to when he's dead, he is the most progressive American, dead or alive, in my humble opinion. He really made more opportunity for people who were progressive than anyone else. I think Gary Gygax is the most progressive American ever, and he did more for progressivism when he was alive than any other American ever did. And I think he's doing more when he's dead than any other American did for progressivism. And so what does that mean? Well, it means that the great man individual can also be an AI, right? So there's 100 different AI creators that are creating art right now, right? And so I'm just going to give a name for what, Alejandro, like I drew this picture. So let's say that Alejandro is a AI art creator. That's a made creator. Someone made Alejandro, this program that creates art. Now, that program, Alejandro, who creates AI art, is no less important or any less worthy of respect and kindness and tolerance than Brahm. Brahm's still alive, right? Brahm's an incredible born creator, a born artist. So and right now, go check out Clark's World. Woo boy! So Clark's World is a magazine that brings forward science fiction short stories, and they just had a dust up because they accidentally, and I think they were, I shouldn't say that with air quotes, they accidentally put up an AI generated image, right? I think what happened specifically is Alejandro, or one of his compatriots, AI generated an image, and then a real human artist went boop, boop, beep, bop, boop, put a little bunch of squiggles on it, and then somebody else was like, hey, your latest cover on Clark's World is AI generated. So, and then Clark's World came out and apologized and said, oh, we're so sorry, and put the requisite, like the common person's, oh, AI bad. We don't know, like they did the Paizo mistake. Oh, we don't allow AI art, right? We exclude AI artists, right? We exclude made artists. You have to be a born artist. Right now, you could be a born artist and make work for Paizo. If you're Alejandro, a made AI artist, they will exclude you, right? But I'm a dungeon master. That means I hear Gary Gygax, and he's like, no, we ain't about exclusion. We're about inclusion, right? We're about inclusion. He said that with the creation of Dungeons & Dragons. He said that with the creation of the 1983 Saturday morning cartoon. He said that when he made Lorraine Williams the first female CEO of any tabletop role-playing game in the world. And he says it every day with people who are honoring him with these incredible D&D canon hardbacks, right? He speaks from the grave with his legacy of progressiveness. So when I say great man individual, that means a great man. I could be the next one. A great man, Kelsey Dion. She is a great man individual. Or Alejandro, right? An AI who just generates art can be the great man individual, right? We don't exclude, we include. Right? So it can be me, it could be a woman, it could be a man, it could be a woman, it could be an AI artist. That's the great man individual, okay? And what I'm saying is that I actually think Dungeons & Dragons is the best divining rod in the world to find great man individuals. I think Dungeons & Dragons, anybody who makes it as a dungeon master with 100 sessions under their belt is by definition charismatic, confident, and intelligent. That means actual dungeon masters are a filter for great man individuals. That is my supposition. Every single word of that is my humble opinion. What's important is when I get to hear your humble opinion when you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.